Kayfabe Cards, your ultimate destinations for all things tabletop in Riverton, Utah. Uniting enthusiasts under one roof, we proudly showcase Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, Magic, Weiss, and One Piece, a gateway into an exhilarating universe of gaming. Immerse yourselves in our diverse products, including a very squishy array of Japanese plushies and the excitement of Gashapon machines. Our expansive play area invites you to duel in epic battles and forge unbreakable bonds with your fellow players. We open our doors every day at noon, embracing a realm where cards come alive and unforgettable moments are forged. Come join us at Kayfabe Cards.
Realm Rumble 2023 is a first-of-its-kind, independently organized, 3-day-long celebration of all the biggest names in trading card games. If you love Flesh and Blood, then this is the weekend for you. There's going to be a $10,000 open tournament, a $5,000 team sealed tournament, and overall, $45,000 of prizes given out over the course of the whole weekend. If you like callings, if you like Pro Tours, then this is the event for you. It's going down December 1st through 3rd in Columbus, Ohio. Head down to the Realm Games' website, realmgames.myshopify.com, to get your early bird registrations in, and we'll see you at the Rumble.
The Instant Speed podcast finally, well, I wouldn't say finally. You were on the show, like, I think you were the second episode after the relaunch of ISP. We were in
Ohio.
Yeah. We were all in that big log palace together, which was incredible. You as a part of Three Floating, but here you are. I'm just going to read the intro that I write, because it's funny, because I get through like 7 words of the intro, and then I get immediately pulled into a tangent because I don't agree with the me of like 3 hours ago. So doesn't matter. But here's word for word. The Instant Speed podcast welcomes a third of the renowned content group Three Floating. He is an actor and caster and a great friend. Welcome, Sam O'Byrne. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. I'm a little disappointed that you no longer agree with yourself that we're great friends of 3 hours ago, but other than that, like, I'm glad, I'm glad you were still willing to do this.
Oh, well, here's the deal. 3 hours ago, 3 hours. So first of all, I and a lot of people have been following along with this construction nightmare that I've been going on.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there, brother.
For sure. But beyond that, it's like for the past month to month and a half, the work has more or less been completed. I even, believe it or not, stepped on my balcony for the first time in 6 or 7 months, and just was like, wow, this is amazing. I went to go put my little barbecue back out there. I went to go which was in my living room, by the way. I had a barbecue in my living room. I had all the spare tires on my car, all 4 of them stacked in my living room. I put them back on the balcony. And I was like, finally, I did a massive cleanup of the apartment. I reorganized and cleaned out the storage, which was the storage area for all this crap, which is now, again, sort of my workspace where I was planning on doing other content videos, like another desk. And this morning, Sam, I get a note slid under my front door saying, we need to do touch-ups and some more renovations on your side of the building for another several weeks. So I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We were so close. So close, Sam.
Terrible. So 3 hours ago, you were dealing with that, and in such a state that you just pretended we were really good friends. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I was looking for ways to sort of lift myself up. So it might have been a fantasy world that I created where you and I were such good friends. But,
yes. Okay, cool.
But I would like to believe that that's true. I think that's true. I think that you and I are buddies.
Great. Oh yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Perfect. See? Excellent. Well, the 3 hours ago Flake is still stewing at the fact that he got that note from hell. We were so close. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. The first thing I want to ask you, buddy, is, again, I said that you're a third of Three Floating. There's you, there's Jacob Bertrand, there's Aiden. You all have such an important role to create this, obviously greater than the sum of your parts entity that is Three Floating. You bring so much energy, you bring so much enthusiasm and love to Flesh and Blood. What are you guys up to now? Because if you guys drop 2 videos a day, I'm sure that there are people who'd be like, that's still not enough.
We're trying, man. It's this funny world of really wanting to treat YouTube and the game like it is as big as it could ever be, and, you know, trying to get videos out as consistently as possible to, like, you know, we've never been too focused on, like, playing the algorithm, but there's, like, you know, if you put more videos out, YouTube will show your videos to more people, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, if you're consistent with it, like, there's a greater chance that you get seen by more people. And our main goal is just to keep helping the game get bigger, you know? And, like, what we wanted to bring to the table was just a type of gameplay that we just couldn't find on YouTube. And we all, like, grew up on YouTube and have watched so many card game videos on YouTube that we were like, where's the Flesh and Blood one? So we were like, shit, man, I guess we gotta make it. But, you know, because we want to treat it like, you know, almost like the end game. Like, oh, when the market on YouTube is huge, like, these are the videos that it would sustain. You know what I mean? So we're trying to put the same love and energy into them right now. But as a result, you know, it just takes an enormous amount of work and an enormous amount of time. So it's, you know, we're getting them out like every couple weeks pretty much. And we're really, like, stoked and proud on that. But there's a lot of stuff that we would, like, probably try to be doing if it didn't take so much time and effort and energy for these fight nights. You know, like, we've had people ask about, like, podcasts or, like, other, like, streaming or some other gameplay stuff that we've talked to each other like, oh my God, how fun would that be? But the kind of Herculean effort it takes to film and edit and produce the fight nights right now, like, it's just kind of all eyes on that.
I sat through
you know?
one. I mean, I was there watching you guys record the one that we did back in Ohio or whatever. I was a part of that one, which, again, thank you for including me. It was awesome to be a part of it.
Fun.
But just to see what is important, and then again, this is going to be a blast from the previous episode that you guys were on, which I think at the time was like 88 or something, where you guys were mentioning, or Aiden had said that for every 1 minute of produced content, it takes him about an hour. So when you guys put out a 30-minute video or a 40-minute video, it takes them 40 hours of work to actually put that out, which is unreal to think about. And I get it. Like, we're all slaves to the algorithm at the end of the day. And the reality is that we're not getting rich off these YouTube videos. One of the most eye-opening things to me, because I never envisioned this sort of career path for me as, this is not how I'm going to make my money. And Instant Speed has seen a certain amount of success where I do have sponsorships that help me really pay just the costs of doing this stuff. Like, I'm not ahead by any means, but it was never the end game to get rich. And when DM Armada made that sleeving a deck like 5 sleeves or 6 sleeves video that I was a part of, afterwards he showed me, he's like, when it hit like 200,000 views, which is mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
When he hit that, he's like, how much money do you think I'm getting paid for that one video? And I threw out a number, and it was drastically lower. The reality was drastically lower than what he showed. And he's like, it's a sustainable thing if you're getting like 500,000 views a video. But then in that case, it's like, you want to be rich, you better pump out like 5 to 7 of these a week, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason we're all in this is because nobody here is like, I want to get into Flesh and Blood to get rich off of YouTube. You know, it's like we're in it because we just love it, and I think it inspires a passion in the community that, you know, you see when you go to the events, you see when you have people on, you know, the Instant Speed podcast talking about how much they love this game. But like for us, like, we just love it, and we just want to. For us, you know, the drive is not necessarily like breaking the algorithm or breaking into, you know, the stratosphere of dollars. It's really just about being able to engage with the community and engage with the world in a way that people, you know, are coming up to us at events and telling us. Like, we had someone come up at Nats and talk to me and Jacob, and he was like, I just, you know, I started in Dusk Till Dawn, I learned through your videos, and I'm 2-1 in the calling on Azuri. And I was just like, I almost got a little emotional. I was like, that's so unbelievably awesome. Like, I'm so happy to hear that, you know, and like just being able to engage with the community and bring something that we didn't have when we were getting into the game, that, you know, I'll hope that when somebody starts to find out Flesh and Blood and they're like, whoa, what is this? And then they find our channel, they're like, oh my God, there's like, now there's like 12 of these I can watch, you know, and that's like so cool that exists now, you know, and I'm just, you know, I it makes sense that it's not about the money for you. It's not about the money for the people that are just like, we love this.
Well, that's the end goal here, is the fact that it's literally, this is stuff that we love. And you mentioned passion, and I have to constantly remind people or just drive the point home whenever I'm asked for advice about getting into the space, getting into content creation. I say if your foundational point, if your bedrock isn't just pure unfiltered passion for the content that you're making, you are going to burn out immediately, because the second that you find out that you jammed 30 hours into a video and it got 78 views, you're going to feel absolutely defeated. But unless you wake up the next morning saying, I want to do it again, then forget it. Like, then it's not a thing for you, because you're not doing this obviously to get rich. I'm not doing this to get rich. Trust me, there's a closet full of ramen that will guarantee that it's definitely not in this get rich. We have to do this as sort of an aside to help us through or to sort of get us better acquainted and connected with the community, which is what we love and what we're passionate about. But that all aside, there is an actual quote unquote day job that you do, that I do, but like for you specifically, it's acting. That is your profession. And I use the quotation marks not to say that to take away from, what is entailed when it comes to being a professional actor. I mean it because it's not a day job. It's a so walk us
another
through,
goal.
Well, that's it. It's another goal. But like much like myself and casting, you and chasing down opportunities for as an actor, it's so tiring. But you love it. And talk to us a little bit about that part of Sam O'Byrne.
For sure. It's acting is something. When I was a kid, I expressed that part of myself. My brother and I would run around in the backyard and we'd play Pokemon, but like we were in the world, and like I was narrating the Pokemon we were encountering, and then eventually that would transition into like we called them body games, this is what we call. We would go outside and we would just like play games by imagining these worlds, and I was kind of like spinning these tales. I remember one was like, I was playing Final Fantasy at the time, so like Cloud Strife was in the world with us, but Julian was super into Sonic. So like we were out there with these little foam swords, and like Cloud Strife was there helping us out, but also Sonic was there too, and Tails and Knuckles, and like, but like, I should get my brother next time. Hope Julian's been getting into Flesh and Blood. He actually just moved in with me here in Los Angeles, and so he's been getting into Flesh and Blood. Hopefully, I'll get to introduce you guys at some point. But I do remember that specific game with Final Fantasy and Sonic. I like killed Sonic. Like I very dramatically killed him, and Julian like ran to the other room and was just bawling his eyes out. He was just like, I remember, because we were really young. He was like, this was a lot for me. Like, this was maybe too much. Because I was like really describing Sonic.
You made him feel. You got him into
exactly.
that. That is precisely what the success of an actor should be, is when that person that you're performing for feels exactly what you're trying to get them to feel.
Yeah, so that, exactly. So that was me as a young kid. But like, I think the thing about that I really just loved was the play of it and the storytelling, but just we were truly just out there playing, and I think as I got older and started to do like the school plays, and then I started to go, I went to art school, and then I went to a acting university, a conservatory for my college. Like, when you get to the highest levels of it, at the end of the day, it kind of breaks back down into play, and when you, especially in something like theater, like you have to do all this work to create this show and create this trust with these people, and it has to be the same if you're doing it 5 times a week, 8 shows a week, it has to be the same. But there's also this sense when you're up there with someone of like, but we're playing. Like, if I do something a little different, like my person in the scene with me is gonna respond differently, and then throw something back at me a little differently. And then if I'm really there playing with them, like I'm throwing it, and there's a sense of that is so deep down in the core what brings me joy of just being alive. I couldn't imagine doing anything else with like my life. I didn't want, to go and become a doctor, or, both of my parents are clinical psychologists, and like I could have totally just tried to go get my PhD and do that. And like a lot of my family are clinical psychologists, so like there would have been a path for me there. But I couldn't imagine like not getting to keep kind of playing at this core level, and acting allows you to do so and tell stories. And there's just such a magic when you see an incredible play or an incredible movie, or even like all these other forms of storytelling. Like there's just magic there. Like I just love to be part of it.
There's a different kind of attachment or connection that I make when I'm watching like a Scorsese movie versus when I'm watching like Michael Bay blow shit up, and they're both entertaining, don't get me wrong, but what you get from a truly character driven, performance driven type of movie, like The Departed, or any of those other Scorsese, like Casino or Goodfellas or whatever, like Scorsese's my guy. He's my favorite director of all time. But do you have any actors that you just look at, or you've seen, or that not just inspire you, but you're like, that's what I want to be. This is who I aspire to be. This is who I look to, that I want to not just emulate, but who's a master of their craft that just inspires me to that degree.
Yeah, for sure. When I was a kid, my like hipster answer, when people would ask me my favorite answer, I would say Troy Baker, who is Joel in The Last of Us. He's the main guy in BioShock Infinite. He's Pagan Min in Fallout 4. He's this just like transformational motion capture and voice actor. And like that was my like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I like Troy Baker. You probably haven't heard of him. He's in video games, That was me as a kid. I think honestly, the person that came to mind in a funny enough way, especially when you talk about kind of aspirationally, Jason Bateman is so funny, and he's got this kind of like thing, like people call it the straight man, who's just like, no, like that's no joke, that's crazy, and being the Jim in The Office, like the person who's a little more normal when all the crazy people are around them in Arrested Development, right? Like he's so funny in that show, and then you watch Ozark, and he's just like transformationally nuanced and tragic and like selfish, but just trying to make it, his performance in Ozark is magnificent, right? And like I would love to be the type of actor, if I am able, if I stick with it and I'm able to find success in the way that I get to do those type of projects, I would love to be able to be in something like Arrested Development and make everybody laugh and do some, funny, like really clever, well-written comedy, but then have a show like Ozark that is like so real and in your face and intense. Like I'd love to be able to be that versatile.
It's incredible because actors like Bryan Cranston, who went from being Hal in Malcolm in the Middle to Walter White. And Breaking Bad, to me, it's not my favorite show of all time. However, the transformation of Walter White from season 1 to season, what was it, 5 or 6 or whatever the last season was so gradual. But if you take an episode from season 1 to season 5, they're completely different people. But as you're going through it, the character was so well written and so well portrayed that it was such a gradual, slow burn of a transformation that you almost don't catch it. It's like watching your puppy turn into a dog, right? Like, it's like, when did you get so big? You eventually kind of sit and you're like, wow, it's like Walter White. It's like, when did you become such an asshole? Like, when did you become so ruthless? To me, that actor that, the sort of quote unquote hipster pick, much like you, is Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis, having done Gollum, he was having done Snoke, Gollum, Caesar from the Planet of the Apes. Like, the dude is not just playing a character; he's playing a whole other freaking species, and it's so convincing, and you feel the emotion and humanity through this digital process, which without the right actor is incredible. But then he's finally gaining notoriety as as a character in Andor, as a character in the Marvel universe, having other he was Alfred in the new Batman, right? Like, this dude just doesn't get enough love, and this is a whole other side that I think that a lot of people don't necessarily know about you, Sam, is this, the acting part. Like, they know Sam O'Byrne, the caster, but there has to be, some sort of, there's got to be a bridge between casting and acting that you can kind of carry something over from there. What are those parallels for you in terms of what you know and can lean on from your acting career that you bring to the casting booth?
Like, I think Initially, for me, there was actually a fair amount of hesitation because I didn't want to kind of cross the streams like you're talking about. Like, I really liked playing, and I really liked that I was getting into playing at tournaments, and I really imagined myself. I was like, I think I'm going to play all the freaking time, and I want to get really good, and I want to like be going for top eights like that. I had never, I used to play Magic, but I never even went to an FNM. Like, I was too intimidated, honestly, of like the Magic people. Like, I just was scared of them being mean to me at the shop. But like Flesh and Blood, like I was really like, I'm gonna play. I want to go for top eights, and I didn't necessarily want to cross the streams, so to speak. But as soon as I started, the thing that is so fun that I was kind of alluding to about being on stage with someone and you're playing, and you are creating something magic that everybody in that room experiences, and then at the end of it you put on the show, and the feeling of looking around with everybody that just put on that show is like, we did that together, this was so special, I'm so glad to have done that with all of you. There is, and I know we talked about this a little bit, like you feel that at the end of a cast when a cast goes great and the games were awesome and the interviews were fun and your back and forth with your co-casters was like cracking. Like when that stream goes off, it's like, we just put on a freaking show. I'm so proud of us. And everybody's like tapping each other on the back and telling everyone how good of a job they did, and like you're just giving love to your fellow cat. Like that's just such a beautiful thing that feels very familiar and very much like home to me, is like putting on a show, and it turns out, like, I kind of assumed it probably would, but like getting to talk and put on a show about pretty much my favorite thing in the world in terms of like actual interests. It's like the thing I care about is Flesh and Blood, So like being able to just talk about it and be excited about it on a stream and try to bring that excitement to as many people as I could that are watching, like that's a wonderful, wonderful thing,
The thing that you mentioned earlier about how when you change up the delivery of a line, or you change something up when you're acting, and the person in the scene with you has to play off that, because if you come at it with a different bravado in how you present something or you deliver your line, and they respond the same way as you did prior, it's not genuine. You have to be aware of that. And that's a
100%.
level of improvisation, which I think that when you take that to the casting world, it's a whole different thing, because there's three people that are in that booth. It's you, your co-caster, and the third player is the game. And that is, they're delivering lines and they don't care at all about what you're saying. You're playing off them. And if something happens and you're not prepared for it, if you can't change the way that you perceived a turn was going to go, because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I see my opponent is going to do, even if it's something as mundane as like blocking an Ashwing with a Hornet Sting. And in your mind, that the delivery of the line is going to be that they flip a card, it's going to be an arrow, they're going to kill it, the turn's over. But if they flip it and it's like a Winter's Bite, that changes how the delivery was made. You now have to change how your reaction is going to be to it. And that's something that you might not be prepared for because of the players or that third character. And I've always found that having a good improvisational mind has almost served me better than knowing the decks and the players inside out, which obviously you want to do both. But that is something where if my co-caster is not ready for that, then I'm like, I'm leaving you in the dust. I'm going, and if you can ride shotgun or you could be left behind. So, I mean, you're somebody who, when I watch casts, I don't think that you really ever miss a beat. You're usually on the ball with everything.
Well, I appreciate that, but I was about to say about you, sir, like, I think you're totally right. I think the main thing that really, I feel the crossover that really helps is I've done a lot of improv, and I've done a lot of improv for like class and like comedically, but also just in school and in rehearsal. Like, you do so much genesis, and so much of the discovery is in just like making it up in the moment and allowing what, the character creation and the situation of the world to inform the improv, but allowing the discoveries to be genuine in the moment. And in casting, it's all improv. You're just talking. There is no script. You're just talking about what you see, and you're talking to your co-caster. And I do think being able to have flexed that muscle so much in my life helps me when I'm trying to just do a cast, especially because I had no experience before, January. But watching, I mean, you're absolutely right. You are fantastic with the improv, and especially getting to see you in person the times we've gotten to now work together, which has been a total delight. I'm sitting there like, God damn, like this dude's funny. Like this dude's quick. And you've got like these little one-liners that I can tell are not rehearsed. Like you didn't plan to say at Nats that they're passing that card around like it's a Bob Marley concert. But when you said that, I literally looked at Punkage. I was like, there's no freaking way, dude. Like that was a legendary line. You know? So did you do improv? Like do you have a background in this, or you just kind of like do you just like it? Did you do it in
So it's such a miss. I don't want to say it's a missed opportunity for me in my youth, because I got to do a lot of things. But I mean, to me, when I was in high school, you know, I was in high school in the from 98 to I guess 2003, like the 5 years of high school we have in Canada or whatever. And like at that time, you know, card games, Star Wars, Marvel comics, like those were not cool. Like you got bullied for that kind of stuff. But so to me, I was like, this is the stuff that I absolutely love. I love playing StarCraft. I love, you know, reading my Star Wars books. I love collecting Star Wars cards. And I just befriended people whom I'm still very close with to this day based off that. And that in turn shaped who I am. However, there was this other part of me where I just wanted to be on stage as a performer in some capacity. I used to do, you know, random improv kind of stuff like within certain classes that I did. But in high school, it was a one or the other, because you were not going to get accepted in that group of like theater type people because you were the nerd. And as much of it, and it's the truth. So like to me, the outlet for this stuff oftentimes became class presentations. I was like, you have to listen to me. So like if you don't, you get detention. Like that's the kind of thing. Like it's the ideal scenario for any type of stage performer is you have to behave while I'm up here. And the thing about it was like that gave me an outlet to try stuff out, to try different types of injecting comedy into, you know, education and a presentation about, I don't know, like the Canadian economy or some garbage, you know, like, and to do so, then I was like, I like this, but the ship had already sailed in high school. And what's fascinating is that at the end of high school, I got voted most likely to have their own talk show, which was really cool because people eventually later on were like, why didn't you join like the theater crew? Why didn't you do this? And I was like, I didn't want to just flat out say it because you guys were assholes and were bullies to me. But like that was the reality. And when I went to university and such, that's when I was doing like university radio. That's when I was doing stand-up comedy at the college and whatever. And like that's when I started doing things like that. And that's where I was like, this is what I want to do. But how do I cross-pollinate? Like to me, it was one or the other. I never even considered card games as a career. It was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that that's, you know, I was in school a little bit after you in high school, and it's funny that, I mean, there was a pretty significant shift where like we were definitely all the nerds, but I also went to it was a public high school, but the arts program was like an arts school. So like I was still just at, you know, public high school in my county, but you had to like audition to be in the theater program technically. You can just like sign up. So like there was a little more acceptance in the public school of all of us arts kids, because it was like they had to deal with us. Like we were, you know, 400 strong. Like we are Marin School of the Arts. Like you can't, like we got each other's back. But we were also like in that, like that's where I really started to play Magic for real. Like my dad taught me to play Magic when I was a kid because he was working with someone who he learned to kind of help better work with this kid in his practice. And so then he taught me because he knew I was pretty nerdy and thought I would like it. And I brought it to the theater program. And so my 2 years of high school are almost like a card game anime. Like we would like finish theater class, finish drama class at 5th period. We'd go out to lunch and there would be 8 games of Magic happening all at the lunch table. Then we'd go back to class and we'd be like trading cards in the back. And then we'd finish our rehearsal and we'd go back to playing Magic. Like it was such a thing in the theater program. It was like that was all anybody did for those 2 years.
I would
so
love
I'm
that.
sorry that you couldn't. I'm sorry you couldn't have the same experience.
Well, but look, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. And what scares me about this is the fact that I am where I am today because of obviously everything that I've gone through in the previous in my lifetime. So who knows? I mean, if I was not bullied for liking cards and stuff like that, it was a weird scenario because I was never included in stuff, and I was like casually kind of like teased a little bit, but I was never like the direct target of like major bullying because, and I'm not making this up. It's like some of the cool kids were like, yeah, but he's kind of funny, so like don't mess with him too much, you know, like
Yeah.
like we don't want him to, I don't know, like leave school because he tells a good joke or gives like a funny presentations, but like that's kind of what that's where like kind of comedy and telling jokes became a little bit of like a shield for me, because to me, if people laughed at me, then that's sort of, that took the place of them wanting to tease me, because like I'm doing a book report about like an X-Wing novel, and I'm like, I know this is gonna get me, you know, pushed into a locker here and there and made fun of. But at the same time, if I throw a few one-liners and like take a jab at the teacher while I'm doing it, then I'm going to win some fans over. So maybe they won't stuff me in the locker. Maybe they'll just knock my books out of my hand. Like that's kind of
Exactly.
But so it's just, again, all that led up to where I am today, and your whole background and such has led you to where you are today, which is a successful caster. Like that's what you're doing. And the first time that you and I casted together, I think it was at one of the Realm events like a while ago. It was such a great experience for me because, you know, I'm not that I say I'm used to certain people, but I've cast so much with DM Armada. You know, I've cast with a lot of prominent people in this community, but seeing a fresh face jump into the booth is always exciting for me because I'm like, maybe there's chemistry here that I haven't had with other people. And I want to ask you about your experience getting in the booth and finding your own footing. My first adventure into casting, a lot of it was trying to take the best from other people's styles, seeing what people liked, and you know, slapping like, I'm going to do 50% what people want to see and 50% me. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, screw it, I'm just going full throttle on what I want.
Yeah.
How was it for you to find your sea legs in this business?
You know, for me, it was a really good friend of mine, Justin Loag at Arcane Games and Events, the AGE tournaments that happen locally here for me in Los Angeles, which I was getting excited to play in. And I was like, here, this is a good cut my teeth tournament series. And it was Justin that said to me after an armory one night, like, I would like you to cast. I think you should cast in the first one. And I was like, I told him no. I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to cross the streams. I don't want people to think I'm in it just to like become a caster. Like, I was like, I think I want to play. And he was like, I really think you should try it once. And my whole philosophy, I was like, okay, I think I'll do it once. But my whole philosophy was, if it becomes a really stressful thing, if it starts to feel quickly like, oh, you know, how can I, like, am I going to get jobs? Like, oh no, like if it becomes this stressful worry thing, I'm just going to stop and it'll be a thing I tried and then that's okay. But if it's fun and if it feels like this is something that I can kind of find my footing in somewhat naturally, then let's send it and let's do it. And so it was mostly trusting, kind of what we talked about, like just the background I have in being in front of a camera and being comfortable doing that. My background talking to lots of people at once and improving, and just really saying to myself, like, I'm gonna go in kind of blind. Or like, you know, I wanted to make sure I knew everything about the game, but I'm gonna just be honest, I did not think that hard about that first cast. I was like, I just want to go jump into the water and see what happens and see how it feels. And it was definitely like, okay, I'm in the water now. Now what happens? But it was fun. And like, I'm sure if I went back and actually got to the very first game I ever got to broadcast, Aiden Kwasniewski was playing, my cousin was playing in a Dash Mirror at the very first AGE Open. And so, you know, it was nice. I got to talk about Aiden and bring some personal connections in. But it was just fun. And honestly, in a funny way, it's more been in the last like 3 months that I've really started to think about like, okay, so now that I've done this and I'm having fun, and then people are telling me that they're enjoying it when I'm on the cast. What do I want this to be? Like, what, you know, I once I started doing it, I really wanted to do the best that I could. And once I, you know, as like I know you do, like when you do something, you want to do your best. But like, I've started to think honestly more recently about like, what is my voice? Like, you know, I know what kind of I bring to the table in terms of excitement and in terms of like, you know, technical ability to talk quickly and process quickly or whatever. But like, what is my voice, and what do I want to bring to a cast, and what do I like? It's not, I kind of initially was just like, I'm just going to pretend I'm a broadcaster. Like, I'm going to just pretend, like, and just, you know, like I'm playing, like I'm in school. I'm like, pretend to be a broadcaster for 2 hours. But now it's like, how can I be a little more intentional and figure out, you know, what do I want my thing to be? And it's, you know, getting to do Nats with you guys was like, that felt like I was really honored to have gotten that opportunity. I was like super floored, super grateful, and put some real thought into like, okay, what do I do here? Like, what do I do that complements all of these wonderful people and also is, you know, my thing? And it's been a little more recent of like trying to keep that excitement, but like also giving myself the freedom. I think maybe this is the most interesting part for your question, but like giving myself the freedom to like, if a line comes into my head that's a little more like broadcastery, like send it, you know? Like allow it to be that a little bit. And I don't have to be like apologizing necessarily for trying to be a little more like, I'm a caster, like I do this, you know? Like I feel like initially I might have been kind of apologizing for that, if that like internally, like not trying to step on anybody's toes, not trying to, you know, do too much. But now I'm kind of like, if I'm going to do this, like I can kind of do that a little bit, right? Like that's part of the job.
It is absolutely part of the job. I found that sometimes the hardest thing for me is not coming up with a line, it's suppressing one. It's kind of like a situation of like knowing, and this comes with experience, it's just knowing when to let a moment breathe, and when the line that you had in your mind that I'm like, this is a banger, this one's gonna get like a chuckle, this is a really sharp line, but your co-caster is on one, and by the time that it comes back to you, the moment has passed. And in my head I was like, it's like you're just kind of letting a home run go by, and you're like, well, the hardest part for me is just letting those go. It's just saying like, well, the moment's passed, you know, like timing is incredibly important, of which you're spot on. And again, like for me, working with Pankaj, working with yourself, you know, for the first time at that event, I don't think I got to work with Pankaj that weekend. But just being able to cast with you, it was exceptional. And I think that it's just something that I'm hoping they continue onward. And, you know, it is intimidating. It's certainly intimidating when you have to, you know, you're doing a job, but a lot of that job pertains to the fact that it's your personality that has driven you to this juncture. And there's going to be people who don't like your personality and people who definitely don't like my personality, but screw it. That's what you're getting. Yeah. And that's what you got to live with.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, I mean, I want to say, you know, I definitely had some pretty, you know, just some anxiety about getting into the space and not wanting these people that I had been watching for years and like you know, now looked up to and been like, these are like the casters. And it's like, I have just, for most of my, you know, for the first year of playing Flesh and Blood, this was just like something I got to watch and enjoy and be a fan of. And then kind of stepping into the world and, you know, just worrying about upsetting anybody or like being like, oh, yo, this is my turf. But like, it turns out that just like the regular community of Flesh and Blood, like everybody's been so nice and welcoming. And honestly, like you yourself, man, like after we did that first time, you put up you literally tweeted like, yo, like Sam, that was so fun. Like you did great, man. And I was just so touched, and it was so like kind of you to go out of your way and say that. And it made me feel super welcome. And like, it's a thing that like, people could be competitive about. People could be like, oh, you know, there's this job and this person is doing it. But like, even getting to do Nats, and like, I was so worried. I'm like, are people gonna be pissed at me that I'm doing Nats? Like, am I gonna feel like, oh no, like some resentment from people that I got to do that job? And it was just like simply kindness and simply like excitement. And like, it's the same way I feel like looking ahead at future events. And like, you know, I don't feel at all like, ooh, what do I like? I get to do all these things. Like if I get to do another event, I'm gonna be so excited. Yeah. But if I don't, I'm just gonna be so excited for the people doing it. You know, it's like, but I do want to just say, like, I really appreciated that specifically from you and from everybody, but the kindness you have shown me and the graciousness has been like super, like, I receive it very, very gratefully.
Well, you deserve it, and it's a thing where, I mean, trust me, like, for whatever animosity you thought that you were gonna attract by making the Nats team, how do you think I felt? I'm a Canadian on doing U.S. Nationals. Like,
hold on, you're right.
Right?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I start the campaign on that one. But what I've come to kind of lean on when those types of sentiments start to creep up and they kind of like encroach on your mind like a dark cloud, but ultimately what I eventually find solace in is the fact that you were chosen for a reason. Like, they picked you for a reason, and it's not just about, you know, location or cost. A lot of the times it's just genuinely the fact that, like, you are the right person. You have shown and you have worked your ass off. And trust me, I've had these conversations with many people in the industry where I just say, I'm like, look, I don't have time to even consider the political, you know, layers to getting this finite amount of gigs, because I'm too busy working my goddamn ass off, putting out content, doing tournaments, flying around the countries to be a part of the community and just never say no to an opportunity. And that isn't to say that, hey, I'm working harder than you. That's not it at all. I'm just saying I don't have time to worry about why I didn't get hired for something because I'm too busy trying to get hired for stuff. Like, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So
I get you saying, yeah.
If I can impart a little wisdom towards you, it's that as soon as you start getting bogged into that feeling of guilt of, like, if by me getting this, who doesn't get it? Because that's the reality. And as the game grows, like, I'm good friends with so many excellent broadcasters that are out there, but at the end of the day, there's only a handful that are going to get picked for an event. And if it's me, if it's not me, I hold no animosity towards those who do get it, and I hold no resentment towards anybody who I feel doesn't deserve it, because ultimately it's not my decision. And if there's anything that it should ever affect you in that regard, it's just keep working hard. You know, like, the answer of, well, I feel bad about getting this job and this person didn't. So what is the response to that? Well, I'm going to keep working hard so that I continue to feel like I deserved it. Oh, I didn't get this job? Well, what happens here? Well, I should probably continue to work hard. It all falls down to the same thing. If you just continue to work hard and do things the right way at nobody else's expense, these things, they work out. I mean, and I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but I made a conscious decision many years ago when I embarked on this journey. Like, when I quit my job and started this thing, I told myself that I was going to do this, you know, the right way. I wasn't going to take the easy way out of stuff. I wasn't going to take the easy clicks. I wasn't going to start drama. I wasn't going to pick fights. I wasn't going to clickbait and that gets you very quick success, but short-lived success. Your relevancy doesn't really sustain. I figured I was going to do this by being me, and you're doing it by being you. And those who have this, you know, long-term success, people like DM Armada and such like that, is because they are unequivocally themselves, and they don't crawl over the backs of other people. They support, they uplift. We're all a big family, and all this to say is I'm glad that you're part of it. I don't know what else I don't know where I was going with that.
Hell yeah, man. No, it's super kind. I feel that, and I similarly, like, as people get, you know, as the game grows and more people get into the space and more people get into the booth, like, it's just gonna be so fun and exciting to continue to grow that and to make it feel as, you know, awesome as possible.
Heck yeah. I mean, all this to say, there are people in this community, a very, 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 very small finite amount of people who rub me the wrong way. But I mean, I'm not out to get them. I don't really care. Like, that's just the thing. Not everybody is, you know, the a ray of sunshine. But what is a ray of sunshine is the Realm Rumble. And Realm Games is putting on this massive thing that is happening the first weekend of December. I will be there. You will be there. A lot of great people will be there. The Realm Rumble might be the biggest thing to happen to Flesh and Blood this year that is not Worlds or Pro Tour. And I say that wholeheartedly. Talk to us what the Realm Rumble is.
Yeah, I mean, you put that great. We should be putting that out in some more of the marketing. Biggest non Pro Tour World event here in the States. The Realm is so committed to creating just like the best events they can for Flesh and Blood. There's such a joy and a drive in the community to go to and support great events and play at high level. And that's what the Realm Rumble is. It is a 3-day long celebration of Flesh and Blood, as well as other great card games if you're interested in games like Magic or Pokemon or Alpha Clash. But the bread and butter of this event is Flesh and Blood. There is the 20K invitational tournament that is bigger than certain callings. It's like there's more money being given out in the 20K invitational than there have been at certain callings this year around the world and in the States. And that's the invitational tournament. Like, I think the thing that is so exciting about what they're doing is they're also giving these, open tournaments that are the size of callings. There's an open tournament there's a 2-day open tournament. That's basically a little calling. It's not only do you compete for $10,000 and, all this other prize support, but all of these events are feeder events, and they themselves will qualify you, if you do well at them, for 2024's circuit. And 2024, the Rumble in 2024, it's a 50K invitational, man. Like, what is that? Like, that's insane. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the thing. I think a lot of people, when they come to their, the Brawls or other Realm events, they're like, this doesn't really make sense. Like, I got 16th. You're just giving me a whole box of cards. Like, yep, here's a box. Or win a case or win a box events, or just like the incredibly generous prize support of these tournaments. It's because they just love it. Like, you talk about necessarily being in the red. Like, they just love it, man. They're here to create and give to the community, and the way they're doing it with the Rumbles. Yeah, there's the 20K Invitational, and that's been this whole circuit all year, but there's the 10K, that's a 10K and a qualifier for the 50K. There's a 5K Team Sealed, which is 5K Team Sealed is in it itself cool at an event like this, but it also qualifies you for the 50K next year. And there are all these other events. It's just, it's going to be unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and it's incredible because I after most of these Realm events, for example, like Salt Lake City or whatever, I got a message from an LSS related person who basically said, how was that event? I said, I mean, honestly, attendance was a little weak because Salt Lake City's not an easy place to get to. It's not the best location. However,
I think wasn't Gen Con going on too?
Gen Con was the same weekend.
That was huge, yeah.
But the thing about that was, I'm like, listen, the issue with that is that everybody in that venue had the biggest smile on their face. Everybody felt like they were valued. Everybody was having a good time, having fun. The games were great. The people were great. Same thing with every other Realm-related event that I've gone through. And yeah, and like the whole conversation, honestly, for some people, it's very difficult for them to sort of go past the whole, well, how much money did they make on this? And I have to convince them, I'm like, it's not about profit for them. And I understand that that's not a very good business model.
I understand that doesn't make sense. Well, listen, and they do make, they're the reason they're in this position is because they're incredibly successful businessmen,
Yes.
The reason they're in the position to support these tournaments. But sometimes
well, no, but the whole thing is like, I'm like, imagine these events almost as like commercials for their business, and then that business gets a lot more successful and does a lot more business in that regard. But the Realm Rumble, which to me was like when I think it was at Worlds last year, where the owner of the Realm approached me and said, I have an idea about like a circuit that feeds into a major tournament. And I said, I'm like, yeah, when you get there, let me know. Like I am not a planning person. I'm all for it. I would love to support you. And here we are for this massive tournament. And like you said, the 50K next year, I mean, callings only award what, like 10 or 20K?
10 to 20.
Yeah.
10 to 20, yeah.
So this is like 2.5 callings minimum, all put together and off the back of the hard work of the great people at Realm Games. which you're intimately involved with. Like, you're definitely involved with this process. Like, what can we look forward to for this particular event? And like, I'm doing this from the capacity of like, I'm going to be there, but there are people who are on the fence because, it's just going to be another like battle hardened. And I'm trying to explain to them it's not. So you could do a better job of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this event is designed for the people in the community that love these events, that love the big events, the callings and the pro tours and the worlds, right? Like these days that you get to spend multiple days in the convention center with the community that's all so fired up to be there. And it's going to be like surrounding not only these incredible tournaments, but the trappings and the fun that you would expect from something like a calling or a pro tour, where you have side events and on-demand drafts and, you know, smaller CC tournaments or blitz tournaments, or like, honestly, the Realm has their own like take on some really cool events where you get like, they call it Precon Plus, where you pick a Precon deck and then you get something like between 1 to 3 booster packs to supplement your Precon deck, and then you do Swiss and you know, and then somebody wins that. And like that event has, every time people try it, they're like, yo, this is very fun. And a full ass cosplay contest with Caroline Alvarado and Elaine Hammontree are like completely like taking all of the reins in the initiative on that. And I mean, I've heard tell that they want to get like some additional performers, and like they're trying to do some, I think, really amazing kind of like, I don't necessarily want to spoil the theme, but they're really trying to theme the whole venue, and they've been working already so hard, like multiple months in advance on the cosplay contest, but also just like making the event hall feel incredible and feel fun to be at. I think they're putting all three of us in cosplay. I won't spoil as what, but the three of us at the show, I think, are all going to be dressing up for that event as well. I mean, it's just like, I think you really hit the nail on the head. When people come to these events, they pretty much leave being like, wow, that was really fun. And these people were really taking care of us and really like going above and beyond in the prize support and in the, like, if there's a question or if there's a dispute, like err on the side of fun and generosity and the player's experience, you know? And like, I could not be more excited for the event. I understand when some people are like, what is it? Like, because we haven't really seen it in Flesh and Blood yet. You know, it's a thing that I think was pretty popular in Magic for a long time, where these, you know, the SCG Opens and the GPs, but like here we have an independent store in the Realm that is trying to create a similar circuit for people to play in, and also like this flagship event at the end that's going to not only give out, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in prizes, like 45K's worth of prizes over the whole weekend, but also just like with the North Star of the whole thing, be like, we want everyone to just leave feeling freaking like they had the best time.
And it's,
so I'm stoked.
I'm stoked too, and I'm going to be there. And part of it for me as well, I know this is obviously a Flesh and Blood podcast, but it's not just Flesh and Blood. There's going to be an Alpha Clash tournament. There's going to be, you want to jam Pokemon, you can play Pokemon there. You can do all kinds of stuff outside of that. I don't know if they're doing Magic or whatever, but there's going to be other games that you can play. And for me, I mean, obviously Flesh and Blood is like my bread and butter. I love this game to death. But dude, if you're firing up some Pokemon, I'm bringing.
I was gonna say, you're playing the Pokemon. I know you're playing in the Pokemon event.
Hold on a second. You say that.
Yeah, you got a little deck.
Well, I have the Toronto Regional Championships this weekend, and yesterday I got my deck in the mail, courtesy of Kayfabe Cards. So thank you, Kayfabe Cards. I got my my Pokemon deck here, baby. You see that? And I put this card in the front because it just shows me the complete dichotomy between Flesh and Blood and Pokemon, because in Flesh and Blood you have a card like Cleave, of like a dude with a hammer cutting somebody in half. In Pokemon you have Pikachu having their birthday party or something with balloons and stuff, and I'm like, you know what, this feels like a complete departure from wanting to tear somebody in half. So yeah, I will be there. But that's a major element of this. It's like, bring whatever games you want. Like it's a you know, the hallmark event is going to be the Realm Invitational for the 20K. The other aspect is going to be, you want to go jam a Alpha Clash tournament for like $5,000, go do that. You want to go play in the Pokemon tournament for $5,000, go do that. Like, to go do the side events, the this, the that. Like, it is truly an experience. Like, this is a weekend, man.
Yeah, 100%. I like you said. I mean, I think if you're somebody that enjoys, playing all these card games and you're a total grinder, like you're gonna have a full schedule because there's gonna be things to do. You're gonna have too many choices of things you could want to do. And if you're like me and somebody who is really, and I think a lot of the people who are involved with the realm and with the circuit who are just like Flesh and Blood is your thing. Like, man, it's a really incredible opportunity for people were bummed that there was only one Pro Tour this year, but we got the Rumble, and it's another 3-day long event where you're going to be able to play in multiple open tournaments for tens of thousands of dollars, as well as side events and jamming games. I also want to give a shout out to Yuanji Lee, because I was doing I've been working with the Realm, like you said, trying to help them with their marketing and getting some of the word out for these events. And I was trying to find a good name for the weekend. It didn't have a name yet. And I hit up Ethan Van Sant. I was like, I pitched him some ideas, and he was like, Yuanji just said the Realm Rumble. And I was like, done. That's it. So Yuanji Lee, giving you your flowers for that one, because I think it'll be used for many years. It's a great name. And it's going to be a great event. And I really hope everybody comes. And I hope everybody who's on the fence comes and checks it out. And I hope the people that aren't able to make it out this year, they watch what will be, I think, a really kick-ass stream, which I'm looking forward to talking to you about offline. But I think people are going to be able to get to see how fun it is and come for the 50K and all these subsequent level ups and tournaments next year as well.
You made a good point, which is, we are down a Pro Tour, which I think is what's going to happen moving forward. It's going to be one Pro Tour main championship. There's going to be Worlds, Nat season. Those are the majors, etc. However, like you said, Realm is kind of picking up the slack for the major event that we might not be getting otherwise. And I want to talk a little bit about the importance of these, I call them grassroots types of circuits. But it doesn't feel grassroots anymore because it feels pretty damn established. But these smaller entities like Realm, like AGE, that are putting on these events and these tournament circuits, etc., that have point systems and invitationals and kind of stops and tours, and they're marketing out the opportunity for other stores to award these invites, etc. Can you talk a little bit about the impact, the importance, the poignancy of these entities like Realm, AGE, etc., that are putting on these things? What do they mean to competitive FAB in the community?
Oh, I would love to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, I think you put it well in that there is there's such a need for communities to be able to play kind of the fact that Flesh and Blood has a type of player base that when they see something they want that isn't necessarily where they want it to be yet, they go and they make it, and you have we want to see this on YouTube, so we made that YouTube channel, right? And these the Realm, AGE, these people that are we want to see more tournaments and give more players the opportunity to play. We are going to create that. And I think the fact of it's a different type of narrative and it's a different type of engagement that you get when you win a local community tournament. And that's something that I think Realm has given by giving these, RTI packages, the Realm Tournament Invitational packages, where any store can basically, get the assets, get the resources, and put on a tournament, if it's CC or Blitz or Draft or whatever, and, the winner gets to come to this 20K. And you're giving these stores beyond, ProQuests and RTNs, I've seen so many things online that are my store's ProQuest sold out in 10 minutes, and the prize support wasn't good, and I couldn't play in any events. But all of a sudden you have this other entity like the Realm that gives so many more stores and so many more communities the opportunity to get to play in a fun, higher stakes setting that isn't a Pro Tour, isn't a calling, right? So you don't necessarily have to travel far outside your area if you have work and you can't get out there, or you are able to play against your local scene and the people you play against with your armories, but get to have a little more than just your little cold foil you get to win at the end. There's a little more on the line, and there's $1,000, and I know you even got to go and cast an RTI. That was so incredible that Green Tree had so much, they were clearly so fired up about the event that they put on that incredible stream. I was literally watching that. I was buying my couch in Living Spaces, and I was watching that Team Sealed stream. I was with my brother and my mother and father, and we were all looking at couches, and I was like, check out this stream. This is my friend.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
lot
and I
of
just,
fun, yeah.
yeah, and like that, there's like how incredible that exists for that community, and like, I also, you know, with what AGE is doing, like they're a little more localized here in Los Angeles, and I've been so like they're the only reason I've gotten into casting, and they're so focused on the local Los Angeles scene, and they're so excited about like bringing the narrative to the world of like our players here and like they're kick-ass and here's who normally beats who, and like creating that as a viewing experience is so you get a different thing than just like, you know, I love to hear about Michael Hamilton and Mara Ferris and Tarek Patel and Brody Spurlock and these incredible players that are the narrative. But like you get to learn about other cool local heroes, right? And then those local heroes like Matt Vore all of a sudden go on and take second place at the Calling Dallas, right? And like now people that saw him on AGE streams are like, oh, whoa, you know, like it just creates an even more sense of like the greater community at play here. So I think it's super dope and super important.
It's awesome, dude. It is very good. We're very lucky. Again,
Yeah.
I'm speaking obviously when I say where we're at, North America. I don't know necessarily the, you know, nitty gritty of what's going on across the pond, and
For sure.
However, over here we are incredibly lucky to have these types of events, these types of circuits, because you're right. Like it seems like you can look at the calendar and be like, on any given month there is Flesh and Blood that matters, and it matters maybe not in the capacity of, well, this has nothing to do with a Pro Tour or Nationals qualification, but it qualifies for other types of prestige. And I think that at a certain point, when you look at the players that are going to this RTI event or this Realm Rumble, I mean, I'm getting messages from people locally being like, hey, when are you going? What's the story? We're putting a caravan together and we're heading out there. Like Tarek Patel's ready to rock and roll, because there's money on the line, there's prestige on the line, and that's the element that I think a lot of people are now associating with these tournaments, is that you could throw cash at anything, but that won't necessarily elevate it to a prestige that people will be like, dude, that's the guy who won XYZ. And if there's one thing that we learned when we did the 2 Goliath Gauntlet tournaments, it's that the quality of players is what elevates it. And yeah, you want to attract them in, but when I would hear other people talk about, oh, he finished like second place at the Goliath Gauntlet, and that mattered to them, I was like, wow, that's incredible. And now these Realm events are kind of getting the same level of respect which they deserve. So I think that there's definitely a void. You know, when this all was kind of being conceived, there was this murky cloud above LSS where we weren't sure where they were going. Like they had cut a Pro Tour off this calendar. We hadn't seen many callings going on. There were regions that were getting completely, you know, isolated from competitive play, and then ultimately Realm steps up, puts on this other stuff. And again, I'm talking about North America, but it kind of filled a void that now LSS is like, hey, there's other options out there, and now we're elevating our game. I think that 2024, in my estimation, and I'd love to hear yours, is probably going to be, from a competitive standpoint for Flesh and Blood, a marquee year for that game.
Oh, absolutely. I think we are really moving into a little bit of an initial golden age. I think it almost feels like we've gotten through the prologue. You know, like this was the prologue to what Flesh and Blood can be. Like we've had, you know, the ups and downs of a young company kind of finding their footing. We've had COVID, like you said, and we've had the kind of uncertainty as things, I think, changes with LSS, and they're figuring out exactly what they want their competitive season to look like. And as they figure out their competitive season, some things go on the back burner. We lose some Pro Tours, we lose some callings, but now all of a sudden we got to hear about Pro Tour Los Angeles months in advance. And we know where it is and when it is. And that speaks to, I think, a different sense that we've already gotten to see a little bit in the back half of this year. And now looking ahead to next year, like it really seems like they're going to have a different sense of competitive play and a different sense of like expanding that and making sure that the competitive circuit is as incredible as it can be. And then you also have the Realm putting on a 50K invitational circuit. You have AGE in the West Coast putting on their circuit. You have freaking Ethan and Nathan at Savage Feats that are just going around to all these events, putting on like world-class coverage, which started as Ethan freaking out and being with me and Pankaj at Indy and being like, you know, and like now he's like cool as a cucumber and out there just absolutely crushing it. Like these incredible community pillars that are lifting it up beyond even what LSS is doing. But then when you look at what LSS is doing, it's looking like that's about to take kind of a level up too. So like, bro, I don't know. Like this feels like it's time to actually get into the main event. You know what I mean?
We're getting there. We're getting there for sure. I do have a couple questions that cycled in for you. This one from Joshua Levy, who's a great judge, great person. Always gives me a white border Stonewall Confidence Bravo card, Guardian card signed every time I see him. I have a few of them that I keep. I don't throw them out. I still have them, Josh. Josh asks, what has been your favorite Flesh and Blood memory? And are you and Flake coming to my house in December for drinks during the Realm Rumble weekend? So two-parter here.
Oh my God. I mean, yes. Sounds great. My favorite Flesh and Blood memory. It's a good question. Honestly, probably, and this is kind of this is like, nah. But I like the night that I got a text from Aiden that was like, yo, like my friend is learning Flesh and Blood. Will you come teach us? And he sent me a picture and it was Jacob. Like he had just pulled a Mask of Momentum. And I had never seen Cobra Kai, but I'd seen him on this magic show Game Nights. And I was like, oh, that's a kid from Game Nights. I was like, sure, I'll come. And like I just brought some whiskey over and we got a little pretty trashed and just like played a bunch of games. And that was literally that night Jacob turned and was just like, let's do a YouTube channel, guys. And I was like, I met you 3 hours ago, brother. But I was super down. I was like, this sounds great. When I look back at that, it was just like in the moment, it felt like, oh wow, this is actually feels like maybe a special thing. So I know that's maybe lame, but that's probably my favorite moment.
It's not lame at all. It's very wholesome and endearing. Do you remember what the whiskey was?
Yes, it was Toki, a Suntory Toki. It's one of my favorites.
Beauty.
Yeah.
So the other question is, are we going to Josh's house in December for drinks during the Realm weekend? I will say this. Despite being a flair bartender for 5 years of my life and drinking more
I saw some of those pictures, dude. You were putting up those pictures recently.
Well,
you were like, you did the fucking Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That was
for
my
your final night.
That was my last shift. And at that time I said it was my last shift ever. I said, I don't want to be bartending. I don't want to be busy. Give me a section in the back of the restaurant and don't seat me unless somebody specifically asks for me. And I said, and if you don't like it, I just won't show up for my last shift. You know? Yeah. And they're like, okay, fine. So I had a couple of my bar regulars go to sit in the dining room area of the restaurant and they kept ordering me shots. And those shots that you see, I think there's like 20 something of them there. That was over the span of like a 6-hour shift. I had all of those. They were all Jameson.
You should put it up. You should put this picture up.
I'll try to find it. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put it up. And again, I do not condone recklessness. I was driven home after the fact. But if you want to know what peak flake drinking was like when I was in my mid-20s, I had about 20 plus shots of Jameson and Johnny Walker Red that night. My cash balanced. I was completely fine. I signed out. I gave him my like t-shirt or my apron or whatever the hell it was, and I went to go sit at the bar.
It's up my back.
And I continued to drink. But
goddamn,
I don't do that anymore. If I drink once a month, I drink for occasions. I can still throw back. If you guys want to go out and have a good time, I will 100% one for one everybody. But I don't recommend it in my late 30s anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to do with Josh then. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that works out. Next question is from Keith. Actually, Keith asking, number one, when are you moving to Ohio so he doesn't have to do the math regarding Pacific time zones? Do you want to answer that one real quick?
In the fullness of time, in the miasma that is existence, there are possibilities that stretch into the infinite of existence. And yet, when I look ahead at my initial futures and particular endeavors, it is hard to sift through such a cobbled together weave of possibilities. And yet, looking at that, it is a challenge to discern what could possibly be coming for any of us.
Okay.
Even specifically me.
So that was Sam O'Byrne auditioning for a young Doctor Strange, in case anybody wanted to know. I mean, in a certain reality, you're already there. In a certain,
Exactly.
in another timeline, Ohio is a hotbed of acting opportunities. Did you not know
Precisely.
that? They call Mansfield the Hollywood of Ohio. Did you know that?
They do. Mansfield for sure. Yeah, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, Hollywood is Mansfield.
The follow-up question is, if you're on a deserted island and can only bring 2 FAB decks, what would they be?
Am I trying to beat the coconuts? Am I just trying to remember?
I don't know if this is a if this is a mistype, because it has been edited already. This question, it says in brackets 1 for you and 1 for you. So I think it's you playing against against yourself. Yeah.
Well, probably Icelander, because I love that deck. But what's a fun deck? Imagine if I was just like, and Lexi, because I'm a masochist. No. Maybe. I mean, my 2 favorite decks are Icelander and Azuri, and I haven't played that matchup in a minute. I feel like that'd be fun.
It could be all right. I would go for like a classic like Katsu versus Bravo, but that's just me. But the other part of me wants to do something like Oldham versus like old school Prism, because it's so lopsided that if I'm playing against myself, the challenge would be to beat the Prism, and that feels incredibly difficult. So at least I would have something to do, because if you're just playing the game, it's like, well, one would win, it's 50-50. But like if you're on that island and it's like a 95-5 type of matchup, I'm like, I could see myself being like, okay, waking up every day on that island, kissing my coconut girlfriend, saying good morning, honey, and then trying that matchup and being like, and losing and be like, hey, tomorrow we have a reason to wake up tomorrow to try to win that game. That I would take it from that capacity.
I like that.
All right. Well, my friend Sam, we have the Patreon exclusive, and the Patreon exclusive, because obviously, you're an actor, you've got some chops here. I'm going to test those chops.
Oh, no.
I'm going to give you scenarios that you're going to have to act out for me, involving some of the best and brightest personalities in Flesh and Blood. So if you want to hear Sam do some impressions with some various scenarios, you've got to be a tier 3 Patreon supporter by going to patreon.com/instantspeed. For as little as $2 a month, you could support Flake here and make sure that his ramen is not a name brand version. So that's how we're going.
It's great value. I'm a patron. I've been a patron for quite some time.
You have. You are a fan of the show. You are a fan of the show, Sam O'Byrne, and we appreciate you for it. So
yeah.
But that was a lot of fun, and I appreciate
Wrestlers love me. Yeah, that was fun.
It's the draftable set. Wrestlers love me. There's crack shuffle play with Wrestlers love me. It's such a great new set. Round the table. Yeah. It's not even round the table. It's through the table.
Yeah. It's all the same 3 words: crack shuffle play, round the table, Wrestlers love me. It's just like
all good things come in 3s.
Yeah.
The set, all that stuff, 3 floating. All of you guys are wicked cool. I love you all so much. You, Sam, are awesome, brother. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Dude, it was a true honor and a privilege. Charles last week was telling you how cool it was to be on, and I feel the same. Like, I've been listening to this for years, and it's just a joy to know you, talk to you, and get to do this. So thanks for having me.
I will see you definitely down the line. At the very least, I will catch up with you at the Realm Rumble, which is the first weekend of December. Where can we get more information about the Realm Rumble for people who are maybe not qualified but want to be there, want to be part of the festivities?
Absolutely. There is, you can check out the Realm Games on Twitter as well as realmgamingnetwork.com. And at the time of this releasing, I'm pretty sure, because it's not going to come out today, I don't think.
Tomorrow,
but at the time of this...
Thursday, I think. Thursday, the 26th.
Incredible. At the time of your seeing this, there's an incredible campaign going on right now on Twitter where you can enter into a potentially get a spot in an alpha draft at the Rumble. All you need to do is go and post the graphic that is posted on the Twitter account that says I'm going to the Rumble. Make sure you're signed up for one of the events that you can pre-register for online, like the open tournaments, and then someone is going to get picked from those posts in a couple weeks to participate in an alpha draft, and I might actually know someone who is participating in that alpha draft, and they might be the other person on this Discord call right now.
What? Didn't want to bust that one out, but yeah, Flake's gonna be there. Fun fact, at Nats, US Nats, I got pulled aside by Trevor Baker, who's the OP program manager guy at LSS. He yanks me aside. He said, Flake, we want you to be a part of the alpha draft. And I said, okay, that's amazing. However, I'm doing the next match. I need to be on in like 2 minutes. He's like, oh, okay. And then he goes against Brian Gottlieb.
No.
I know. And Brian's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, or Brian, you can take my spot and I can go draft, because this is the second time now that I miss an alpha draft because I'm working. And he's like, or I can go pull rank and go do it. He didn't say that, but he's like, or I can just go do it. And I was like, go do it.
He probably would have said, you should have me do Brian Gottlieb, because all I would have done is every third word been like, well, I'm old and gray. I'm basically dead anyway. Well, I'm just a husk of a man. He's probably just, I'm old, and so I'm going to do the draft.
Yeah.
Man's 40. He's not old.
No. But
he's every third word, he's like, I'm basically already dead. I'm like, my guy, it's okay.
He kind of walks around like he has the weight of the world and the life experiences of like Clint Eastwood like packed into his his skeleton, and it's just trudging him down. Then again, I feel for a guy who has to commute to Auckland from New York like multiple times a year for work. So
the amount of communicating he does online, he does the Lord's work.
He does. There's very few people in this industry that I respect on the same level that I respect Brian Gottlieb. We don't always see eye to eye, but that is a completely different thing. And believe it or not, friends, you could disagree with somebody and not hate them. It's a magical world we live in, but that's where we're at. All right, Samwise, you beautician of a person. I am so thrilled that you are who you are, and I get to be a part of that lifestyle. So if anybody wants more from Sam, where can we get more Sam?
Oh, we got a YouTube channel. It's called 3 Floating. We try to put out the best gameplay we can. I'm on Twitter just for Flesh and Blood, so it's the only reason I'm there. Come hang out if you want to hang out.
At Sam J. O'Byrne, in case anybody wants to know. See?
Tis I.
Good thing
I'm
here.
I.
All right, brother man.
Yeah.
I love you dearly. Let's say a big thank you to the Realm Games again for just putting on the event. Make sure that you go check out the Realm Rumble first weekend of December. I'll be there. Sam will be there. There's a lot of stuff going on. So check the link in the comments of this video. And if you want to go, I highly encourage you to go. It is going to be on the level of a big event like Nats, like any type of calling. It's going to blow that away. Beyond that, Kayfabe Cards. Go to kayfabecards.com. Be who you want to be at Kayfabe Cards. And, of course, to our wonderful Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. I sincerely appreciate you all. So thanks for the support. We will see you next time on the Instant Speed Podcast. Do you want to do the closing line as me, Sam?
Oh my God! Well, give me it word for word.
Well, it is essentially, you're not losing if you're learning. We'll see you next time on ISP. Do you want to do that one as me?
Sure, I can do it if you want me to.
Hit it.
That's it. I love that line too. You're not losing if you're learning. And remember, my friends, you're not losing if you're learning. We'll see you next time on ISP. It's not that hard because you're such a good guy.
Well,